following presentation is for educational purposes only. All of the symbols, trading ideas, and live trading are for demonstrational purposes and are not recommendations or trading advice. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. All of the information and opinions expressed by third-party guests are their own and are not necessarily those of NinjaTrader LLC. Trading futures involve substantial risk and may not be suitable for everyone, and trading futures can result in losses greater than the initial required margin. Traders should only trade futures with risk capital. Risk capital is money that you can afford to lose without jeopardizing your financial security or current lifestyle. You can find additional disclosure information on the NinjaTrader website.
I'm your host, Tom Schneider, CMT with NinjaTrader, and we are in the Traders Workshop segment of the live stream, and it's our pleasure to have back with us Tanya Trades from the internet of Tanya Trades. How you doing, Tanya?
Hello, good morning. Well, I've been better. There's been better days. Definitely, I got stopped out on the way transferring over to this stream. Fortunately, just no follow through on the upside to this morning. Pretty choppy action. I see that you guys tried along as well. Pretty much in the same, and you got stopped down in the same area that I did. That was just a very large move down to the downside. I think it was like a 50-point move in 5 minutes there.
It was. It was. And you know what I saw, Tanya, is I saw buyers coming into this market. I just saw the momentum. We did a breakout trade. We like to look at breakout trades of the opening range just to see what happens. And the average true range of the NASDAQ has been about 250 handles.
Right.
You know, so there's plenty of upside, right? And we did a 2-unit trade trying to take one off at our pivot level of R1, another one at R2, possibly a runner if that happens. And we just never got out of the box. I mean, it was frustrating. You know,
same thing for me. Like I also thought we would go to London highs and then Friday highs. And like you said, that the average true range of NQ, just the amount of points it moves per day on average, it's been very large. So I thought, plenty of room left. It's still early morning, and NQ can move fast and furious. So I actually got in on the 5 during the retracement during the 10 o'clock news, at maybe like a 10:01 or 10:02. I just anticipated it to push up from there. So you can see that 5-minute fair value gap that was created earlier. Right in that so it was more in that retracement of that box. Yeah, exactly. So pretty much right there. And it's very difficult to manage your trades. I didn't really manage it much except for moving my stop up a bit. I didn't really want to take partials because I had just wanted to keep my full target on for at least like you said, like a 2R for me it would have been, but some days it's just not going to work out that way. And I even tried again. I tried along again after I got stopped out of that one because there was a pretty good push up, and I just did that based on the 1 minute, just inverting a fair value gap that took that liquidity. So you see that red bar to the downside, and we had a pretty strong push up from there. So I actually rejoined, and when it takes too long, that is sometimes I try to think about, should I then take some position off or not? That's typically an indicator for me that it might not get there. But some other times I do like to be just patient, and we do see slow grinds up for the rest of the day. So last couple of days, that's what I've done. But unfortunately, not really much follow through on the upside. But it's fine. What I tell myself is, and maybe I'll get hit later. Like yesterday, I was long ES when NQ was clearly the better choice because tech was just so much stronger. I think NVIDIA's was up 3% already at 9:45. And my first target got hit on ES, but I got stopped out of the rest on my runners at break even. Sometimes it's just going to be like that, where I tell myself, like, okay, do I really expect price to move cleanly to my target every single time, every single day? The answer to that is no, and that's sort of how I manage my own expectations. on my trades. And I think that's one of the most important things is managing your own expectations. Because if you're expecting so much at a price or out of yourself, you're setting yourself up for major disappointment and major emotional turmoil during your trading, where, it's not really that deep, like I like to think about it. Yesterday, I think after I got stopped down, I just stepped away, and I think ES and NQ even took out the 930 lows and then went out to my second target.
Right.
So it's just going to be like that. Sometimes it just takes out liquidity on both sides.
Yeah.
And
You mentioned, straight and easy path, Tanya.
Mhm.
We were joking, Jim and I were joking yesterday and a little bit today about one of the Fed speakers was talking about a bumpy road.
Mm,
Inflation's got a bumpy road, which gives you a pass on pretty much anything, right?
right.
It's not a straight line. And that's kind of the way it is with trading, right? We envision these targets and we can see the market getting there, envision what could happen. But in that, we get a little bit of a bias. We don't envision like what's happening now, right? Which is,
Right.
you mentioned slow grind. I can envision a slow grind. What I didn't envision was a
That
slow
50-point
grind
move down
running out
where you
and
got
then
stopped
turning
out. I
around.
actually didn't see that coming either.
Right, right. So, you just have to be prepared. And that's why stops are, of course, we
Yeah.
promote
Stop,
stops
save
and
lives. That's
stops.
what I like to think about.
That's a
Stop,
great
save
slogan.
lives, and the small losses are a pleasure. I think if you, I've really like rewired my brain. I learned this from Mark Minervi, is that to think small losses are a pleasure, and as long as you keep those losers small and you keep your risk managed, you know exactly how much money you're risking on that trade. You can see yourself losing it and move on quickly. It's not a big deal. You just move on to the next trade. Each trade is independent of the next. And that pretty much goes up with managing expectations, I think. I think a lot of people, um, they put a lot of weight on very small things like micro moves and um, maybe managing a trade perfectly, but everything's crystal clear in hindsight. That doesn't mean that you were going to be perfect in that sense, right? So um yeah, and that's what I struggle with a lot is I think about, okay, in that moment, could I have actually done anything else differently? If the answer is yes, then I'll review it. But if not, then we just move on to the next trade and that's it. If you followed your trading plan, it's all fine. I
Right.
think a lot
It,
of people
it's
get caught up in the individual trade by trade, like this one is a loss, or then even this one is a win. Now I must be like superhuman. No, it's just not going to happen. I like to envision getting stopped out too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And you have to be prepared, you have to accept it. It's part of trading, right? You're not going to have
Yeah.
perfect time every time. And you could have, like you said, you jump back in. Now we talk about
Yeah.
that in futures. Great thing about futures is
Hmm.
you can get right back in if you see kind of the same idea happening.
Right.
And in this case, with the Nasdaq, and we've been hearing all about Nvidia, right, being a big driver of it.
Hmm.
We know about Nasdaq being a very volatile market, but when you
Hmm.
see like, this range, this kind of just is range bound, right? And it's hard to say, okay, let's jump back in and we'll try to get to that level again, but maybe it's just a day where,
Yeah.
you get a couple of those and you're like, okay, well, maybe I'm thinking, yeah,
Yeah.
range today. We're not going to get a good move.
Yeah. Pretty much that's what I do is if I have like I had my second trade, didn't work out either. Um, that's it. Like I'm pretty much done for the morning and you live to see another day.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, managing your expectations is really key of both yourself and of the marketplace, right? So I do like to, yeah, envision different, every single scenario. Think about whether I'm gonna, okay, it's totally possible for it to come back into my break even again. And I have to be prepared to withstand that, right? And if you can't
Mhm.
do that, then you should be trading a different kind of technique where you're taking your profits quickly and then you can't really be mad if you miss a huge move, right?
Right.
Because that's your trading style. I think a lot of people they get caught up into how can I get the largest possible move or the best possible trade of the day and like maximize everything. And it's not going to work that way. I do like to just think about it as, I'm going to take my piece of the pie if it's there. And that's it. That's enough to feed your P&L. You don't need to get the whole pie.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that I think a trader can work on uh, later, and it's not the first thing you work on, is that size management, risk management through size, because really it is about identifying opportunities, trade entries, and trade exits.
Mhm.
First and foremost, I think without those, you can't even talk about size management. You can't talk about risk management. You have to talk about how do I get in, how do I get out. Um, it, it
Right.
it reminds me of, and I know maybe you're not so much of a baseball person, but one of the best hitters in baseball saying, I would never adjust the swing. The swing is what I got
Hmm.
majors for. I'd adjust when and my foot location, my hand location, but I'd never adjust the swing. It's the same thing. If you find something that works for you as far as identifying entries and exits, then it just
Hmm.
becomes a matter of, okay, is this tighter stop? Do I use more or less of a position? Do I
Right.
scale in or out, or am I whole hog the whole time?
Yeah.
That's what I really like about what you said is it's it's really about managing the size.
Right. And once you're trailing your stop, then your risk is now less. And so it's dynamic to that as well. So
Oh yeah.
that's what I love about trading. It is very dynamic. You're constantly making decisions in every minute based on how the candles are forming, or for me, yeah, based on the closes of different candles. And yeah, today, honestly, when I saw that the 5 minute was just there were so many wicks to the upside.
Hmm.
Um, Not really more displacement. That's what I wanted to see, a second large move to the upside, but it was just stalling so much. And to that point, I had to make the decision whether do I take some partials, do I take it off here in case it retraces, or do I just keep the position on? And to me, a lot of the times I'd rather just keep the position on because I think my personality is that I would rather um just keep the same idea than take it off and then see it go without me. And that was a valid idea still. Sometimes I just don't like to micromanage things that much. Um, yeah. So to each their own on how they want to manage their position. I think that's the beauty of trading is that you could actually be in the same trade um with as someone else, and you could have had the winner and they could have had the loser there, right? Oh, here he is. We lost you for a second, but you're back.
Sorry about that. That's
But yeah, I mean, I've seen my chat actually be like, yeah, I took like yesterday, I think some people took NASDAQ instead of S&P and P, and they fared better. Or maybe some people will take their whole position off. I was up 40 points at some point, but you have literally like 30 seconds to make that decision. I'm not really going to. If I'm looking for 100 points, it's okay that I let that come back. But yeah, I mean, it really is choppy. We're still in the opening range. We took out that 930 low.
yeah. So sorry about that. That's my
Yeah,
internet's been a little flaky the last couple of days. Hopefully it doesn't happen again. But
yeah,
yeah, you're right. We took out that low, we turned right around.
yeah,
Sometimes the market just establishes that wide opening range, and wide is relative, right? It's relative to, like you say, the European trading session, the Asian trading session,
right,
and sometimes it just wants to trade around it, right? A lot of times
right.
I think breaks out one way, it's not going to see the other side, or vice versa. But
Yeah,
here, this is one of the 10% days where we see both sides of the opening range.
I think that happened yesterday too, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's surprising to see that 2 days in a row.
it did,
Um,
but you know what? I will say, even with all the stuff about NVIDIA with tech sector, you've got a week where you're coming off a weird week last week, OpEx, kind of this holiday in the middle of the
oh,
week,
right. The
you
holiday in the
know,
middle of the week.
options expiration. You're going into a week where really Thursday and Friday are your big movers, right? Because you've got jobless claims, GDP tomorrow, and PCE on
Yeah.
Friday. So
Mhm.
this to me is like anticipatory trading.
Yeah, it is.
Just
Most
no
of my
real
trades,
movement
honestly, my best trades are Thursdays.
because of
And
the
towards the end of the
information
week, because
dump.
a lot of, like you said, a lot of the higher impact news are on Thursdays
Right.
and Fridays. And yeah, the beginning of the week is setting the range and generating liquidity on both sides. Um, but hey, you could a lot of times the trade still presents itself and you could try it. So we had
Yeah.
10 a.m. news there. I thought we'd push higher from there. But yeah, you can see here we took the low and now we're back in the middle of the range. I really wouldn't be surprised if now we take out that intermediate term high from between 10:30 and 11 um, as that sort of seek and destroy profile.
Yeah, yeah, and like you said, the highs made in the European session,
Yeah.
that's where I thought we were kind of
And
tracking
you know what? You
earlier.
know what? As you were saying that, I kind of remembered. I remembered, oh man, the European session, London session was a large range. So
Mhm.
actually, it makes sense that this it was a large expansion to the downside, one-sided. It does make sense now that the New York AM session is a bit um smaller in range and
Right.
choppy. I'm sure some people traded London and fared very well, but
Yeah.
yeah, and that's like something I could have thought about to manage my own expectations. But here we are. It's fine.
Do you now on a day like today, NASDAQ, you mentioned E-mini as well because you trade
Yeah.
that as well. Have you looked at today and said, I just want to avoid the E-mini? It's trading similar to the NASDAQ.
Yeah, I typically do go just for the NASDAQ
Hmm.
because it delivers faster, although it does take out more stops. So you have to be more careful and it is wider ranges and, more volatile. But that's how I've grown accustomed. I did start trading futures on the E-mini S&P,
Sure.
but and I do think it's great for beginners. I think it just structurally it respects intermediate term highs and lows more. But recently, I've especially what I do is I look at the E-mini and the NASDAQ, and a lot of times what I like to do is I like to long the stronger one and short the weaker one. If
Right.
I'm going to
Right.
short, then I'd rather short. I think last week shorted the S&P, and sometimes I'll see cleaner my risk defined just in a way cleaner way where I'm going to put my stop at this swing high. It's very easy versus NASDAQ. With its larger ranges, sometimes I do have to be a little bit more creative about it because the swing high where the stop would be like 40 or 50 points, right? And
Right. Right.
I like to keep my trades around like 25 points or stop or less for that.
Hmm.
Um, so sometimes the ES will just provide an easier trade for me where I'll see it quicker and then I'll because time is of the essence when you're trading, especially for me. Sometimes I'm trading most of the time I am trading the 1 minute, sometimes even the 30 seconds. So
Oh,
I have to
wow.
be quick
Right.
about it.
We do we do like a 10 minute, so we're kind of lazy,
Yeah, the 10
we're
minute.
kind of
I don't really
lackadaisical.
see many people using the 10 minute, which is
Yeah.
interesting. I think I go from 1 to then 3 and 5 and 15, but I don't really hang around at 10. Which is maybe I'll check it out, but
Well, that
uh,
that came a lot when we started doing these shows. We had, half hour, 45 minute, 1 hour,
mhm,
really half hour segments. We were trying to find trades. So kind
mhm,
of kind of give us some ability to look at the first candle and then see what happened for the second and third. But to the point about the E-mini, this is a pattern I identified yesterday as megaphone pattern, just
right.
expansionary. And, we were trading in here. We were looking for trades at the opening range. Actually, 10 o'clock to 10:30 is when we kind of look for those trades. And, you look for a breakout and you think, okay, well, here's, a guide for the up top. And when it
Mm,
didn't happen, where did it go? It went to this low here, which, okay, that's
yeah.
nice. And, rarely do I take trend lines from one day and expose them, or transpose them to the next or keep them going, if you will.
Hmm.
I mean, it's just kind of this expansionary thing is kept going, and I could see us trying to get down here again.
Right.
Kind of to your point about Europe being way up here, making this big range, and then we're falling down there. It could be, continuation. Um, but you're right. The E-mini does have some nice trends that are respected well below, but beyond where you think they should. Right? I was like, oh wow, it's coming
Right.
right back up there, and then turning around. It's eerie, and I'm not saying that it's a case for technical analysis. It's just an observation of price action, really.
Right. Yeah. The E-mini. And like when you said the word wow, it just reminds me whenever I personally just say wow when I'm in a trade,
Yeah.
that's my Tanya indicator that I should take a partial off, right? Because
There you go.
if any type of move makes you think wow that's incredible or that's impressive, then likely you have a little bit of emotion in it and likely there could be a retracement.
Right,
Um,
right.
yeah.
I get it.
So
So
overall, we're now reaching up towards that intermediate term high. Very much what I call a seek and destroy profile, where after sell side, swept then buy side, and then a sell side again. You don't really see much continuation. Like it's just consolidation or range bound. So that's fine. We're going to be using that data again for tomorrow, Thursday. That's what I think about. It's like, okay, it's all right if my idea didn't work out now. I'm just going to wait for more structure to form and on to the next trade. Yeah, I think he's frozen, but we are, I think, pretty much about done, right? Let me think. Let's see. Yeah. All right. Um, hello, Jim. Right. Yeah. But you were trading with him this morning, right?
Yeah, so
Alongside
we
him.
had that we have a regular we have a three sessions in the morning. So the first one we kind of develop our bias, right? We look at long-term charts, daily charts, weekly charts, and talk about the economic indicators that are going to be released that day. What are we up against?
Hmm.
And then the second half hour is kind of like, all right, let's look at some intraday charts here on the open, right? The opening range.
Right.
And then after the opening range settles, then we look for trade ideas. And so we sometimes, we're the windshield and sometimes we're the bug.
That's a good analogy, I would say. And I do think, yeah, the market, if you're ever flying too high, close to the sun, I think about that a lot. Icarus, that myth.
Mhm.
If you fly too close to the sun, the market is going to humble you sooner or later, right? So I never, after I have a nice winning streak, I never never let my highs get too high and my lows get too low. Keeping it even keeled is the best way to do so, I think, to carry yourself. But yeah, some days you're going to be the bug. Sometimes you're going to be the windshield. Oh, I love that. Um,
Yeah, but so it's funny because we're pretty even keel, right? I'm old
mhm.
enough and I've been around long enough to know no matter how good you are, you're going to
Yeah,
have some bad days, right? You're going to have some bad trades.
yeah. Yeah, and sometimes price action is just it will still surprise you. Like I said, I've been trading for 4 years now. The last 2 years have been, or 2.5 almost, have been futures. So I started
Yeah.
out in small caps and options, and I think that is what really helps you stay even keeled is just your screen time experiences that you've seen all these, every type of possible move happen. If you, and just participating in every kind of market cycle, like living through the huge bull market of 2020 and also then the bear market that came afterwards for a little while in 2022. It helps you manage and set your expectations. And when you see a large move take you out or towards your direction, it's something you've seen before. It's like I like to say, like, oh, I think I've seen this film before, and I might know the ending, but just take the probabilities and see if it works out in your favor or not. And after that, there's not much you can do. If you have to really just let the market, after you're in the trade, you just have to let the market work itself out. And you can't micromanage every possible trade to be a winner or break even. You're going to take them losses, and it's about how are you going to bounce back.
Exactly right. I mean, that's very wise. I mean, you've been doing futures for 2 years. You've learned that lesson quicker than a lot of folks, and it's
Yeah.
okay. It's part of it. It's, if you think about it in terms of sports, and you're a
Mhm.
batter, you're batting, and you hit 3 out of 10, and you're pretty darn good, right? And so you're going to fail a lot, I think, is the point.
Right.
But overall, stick to your plan, maintain your composure, and maybe you'll be okay.
Exactly. Well said, I would say.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, so we are officially out of time in this segment. Tanya, what's the best way for people to reach out to you and find you?
Okay, so just Tanya Trades on YouTube, Tanya Trades on Twitter, Tanya with a J, and Tanya Trades on Instagram. And I'll see you online. I do stream every morning at 9:15 till about 11, the New York AM session. But thanks for having me.
All of the symbols, trading ideas, and live trading are for demonstrational purposes and are not recommendations or trading advice. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. All of the information and opinions expressed by third-party guests are their own and are not necessarily those of NinjaTrader LLC. Trading futures involve substantial risk and may not be suitable for everyone, and trading futures can result in losses greater than the initial required margin. Traders should only trade futures with risk capital. Risk capital is money that you can afford to lose without jeopardizing your financial security or current lifestyle. You can find additional disclosure information on the NinjaTrader website.